Charleston has been in the headlines recently, from shootings to murders to the 1-year anniversary of Walter Scott's death. In this special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I speak exclusively with Reverend Joe Darby. Reverend Darby.
Yes, sir.
It is so good to see you again.
Good seeing you, man.
The last time I saw you was, 2 weeks ago in front of my work?
Martin, off to a meeting.
Yeah. And since that time, you've been busy from Philadelphia to meetings here in Charleston.
Yeah, a little busy.
But I want to talk to you about a couple of things that are going on in North Charleston.
Okay.
And there are a couple of headlines and news stories that have been making news. April 12th, ABC News said this: North Charleston Mayor and Police Chief reject Charleston Area Justice Ministry rally invitation. March 16th, a headline from the Post and Courier: North Charleston Police, altercation led to fatal shooting on Reed Street. March 23rd, a headline from the Post and Courier: affidavit, 15-year-old shot outside a North Charleston restaurant trying to break up a drug deal fight. March 28th, this story from ABC News 4. North Charleston police responded to a reported shooting shortly before 10 p.m. to Foxwood Drive and Barclay Avenue. And this one, March 30th, North Charleston police responded shortly after 2 a.m. to a report of gunfire between two vehicles on Taylor Street near Elder Street. This is the shooting that left the young man dead after he crashed his car into the building. As we sit here right now, Reverend Darby, why North Charleston, why now?
There's an old proverb that people do to death, an African proverb: it takes a whole village to raise a child. That village includes families that need to be strengthened, and we have to work on strengthening those families. Certainly includes the faith community. It includes a lot of elements, but those who govern the village also bear responsibility. North Charleston has had a monumental problem striking the right balance between effective law enforcement and racial profiling. Pretext stops. And they need to work on that. That's one of the reasons why I wish the mayor, the chief, and every single member of council would go to the Justice Ministry rally. It is unfortunate when you have cowardly politicians who can only talk to people on their terms and who cannot hear good ideas that have been carefully researched, crafted, and formulated. If they were open to doing that, it would go a long ways towards improving the village.
And speaking of which, as you know, and you just mentioned this, politics creepily into this particular discussion, because some politicians, Victor says that this criminal justice system failed some of these criminals and victims, and the community needs to work together. And this is what Dr. Scott basically, not Dr. Scott, Dorothy Williams said. Others said the city should offer programs to curb violence. And I'm curious, when you hear that, where are you emotional with that?
I think the city should offer programs. I think the city should work with entities within the community that have that focus. I did hear the councilwoman's remarks. I would encourage you to understand the difference between a social service organization and a civil rights organization like the NAACP, because she appears not to understand that difference. I think that if, however, she was working with organizations within the community, and if she looks at what that aspect of the village calls government is doing, then how do you bring quality facilities, jobs, and alternatives to Chicora, Cherokee, to Liberty Hill, as in some other parts of North Charleston that have grown exponentially during the present mayor and council's administration? It is like going from day to night to drive up Spruill Avenue, go through Chicora, Cherokee, and then get to the area around the old town of Charleston that has been heavily developed, heavily invested in over the past few years, but Chicora, Cherokee sits there looking exactly the same.
Walter Scott, as you know, it's been 1 year since his transition, and obviously the Walter Scott family is still grieving. As you know, former North Charleston police officer Michael Slater, who shot Walter Scott several times in the back, was charged with murder, but now he's out in bond. Faith and Santana, the guy who actually shot the video, is nowhere to be found. And I'm wondering, when you think about Walter Scott 1 year later, what goes to your mind?
I think it still speaks to the inequities of the system. I think you avoided some of the things you saw in Ferguson and in Baltimore because there was a video that led to a quick arrest, number one. Had there not been that video, Slater would have still been a North Charleston police officer, most likely. I think the delay speaks to a racial divide, disparity in the way that justice is meted out. The argument was that he needed to go home to his family. A whole bunch of young brothers have been sitting in jail for months, longer than he has. They're not allowed to go home to their family. So when people like Slater are allowed to go free, while others who've committed lesser crimes sit in jail, when those 9 people at Emmanuel Church, and when they intercept him, who has just killed folks, before they take him to jail, they take him to Burger King. It speaks volumes.
And as you know, recently, North Charleston Assistant Police Chief Reggie Burgess basically apologized, saying, quote, "I want to apologize to y'all for what happened April 4th, but I'm not going to let one guy ruin it." What does that tell you?
It tells me that Chief Drigger should be saying something instead of sending Brother Burgess out there to say something. He's the chief, the buck stops with him. Or it actually starts with King Sonny, who needs to be responsive to the community. It would go a long ways towards restoring what shred of confidence he has if the mayor who endorsed Donald Trump makes a positive gesture to the black community.
Well, Reverend Joe Darby, it's always good talking to you. Thank you so much.
Good talking to you as well.
I appreciate this.
Take care.
Likewise.
All right.